Hello, Clash of Cleaners. I'm Khaleesi of the Tiny Giants, and this is my very first COC video. I decided to put together a series of short, informative videos just to kind of help some of our newer clanmates with some of the early basics of the game, as well as to share some tips and tricks of things that I've learned that kind of make the game a little more enjoyable for me and to help me to do better faster. So if there's something specific that you need me to cover in future videos, please let me know. I'm happy to help in any way I can to improve our clan. And if other clans see these things and it helps them too, then even better. I absolutely love this game, so I love being able to share my joy with other people. So please let me know if there's something specific you need me to do. As you can see, this is my base. I am a pretty new Town Hall 9. I've only been Town Hall 9 for a few days. From the very get-go knew that very first thing I was going to do when I became a Town Hall 9 was to get my bigger army. And I recently did get all 4 of my base camps upgraded, so I'm now at a whopping 220 units, which I am super stoked about. We'll have our very first clan war later today, and I'll have my very new army with me the very first time, so I'm super excited. I can't wait to see how they do. I will probably still suck just as much as I did at Town Hall 8, but hey, at least I will suck with a bigger army. So, the next thing I decided I wanted to do right away was I really wanted to get my expos. So they are working. They were the most expensive item I have ever purchased on COC. So I am super excited to see how they're going to look when they're all done. They're not exceptionally strong on defense, but they sure do look intimidating. So if it can keep people from looting my base, even just because of the intimidation factor, then hey, they are worth every penny. So just a little on me. I am one of the co-leaders in my group. Anything that happens in our clan that is kind of new and noteworthy, I jot down. I do have a file on our clan of just lots of anything that happens in our clan that I think is kind of interesting or something that, you know, might be important later. I will jot it down. I'm also kind of the person who writes down the war list of anybody who's like wanting to participate. I make sure I write their names down just to kind of keep a running log of who needs what. And I'm definitely the geeky girl. And because my schedule is kind of flexible, I'm able to jump on the game at random times during the day. So if people have questions, I'm usually there to be able to kind of jump in and help them if I can. And I love it. This is definitely something that I have really grown to look forward to and just to really enjoy having fun with. So I know other COC players feel exactly the same way. So anything I can do to help them out, I'm always excited to do that. For my very first video, I know we have some brand new people in our clan, and the common theme with newbies that seems to kind of run in any clan you're in is people always seem to struggle to get those initial resources to be able to invest in your base. So I'm going to give you a really, really simple strategy for getting resources quickly. And it's what I've come to call the lazy loot strategy. Now, other people, I'm not saying I invented this strategy by any stretch of the imagination. It was done long before I came along. But this is what I call the lazy loot because so when I am at my very laziest, this is what I do with my time. So if I'm on the couch and I'm watching episodes of reruns of Seinfeld or some of my geekier sci-fi shows, this is what I'm doing while I'm watching. So if you need a good strategy for getting loot quickly without really having to invest a lot of time and energy into it, this is the way to go. So basically it's a mass gob attack, and I'm going to be showing you exactly what to look for when you're trying to scope out bases. As you can see here, I went in to this attack with 220 goblins. My goblins are now at a level 5, so they are 100 elixir apiece, which means my army is 22,000 in elixir. It is really, really important, especially when you're early starting out, to know how much your army is worth. If you don't know how much your army is worth when you go into attack, you don't know what kind of base to look for. If you attack a base that is less than what your army is worth, then you've already lost before you drop a single troop. So go into an attack knowing exactly how much money you have invested in your army so that you can make sure you get that back and then some to be able to advance in the game. Too many times I see people going in with these massive mass wizard attacks. And wizards are expensive, people. If you you have 20 of those suckers and they are 3,000 a piece, you're already looking at 60K in elixir. So make sure you know how much your resources that how many resources you have invested into your army, because if you're attacking a base that only has 15,000 in elixir, you've already lost. You're already behind. So know the value of your army and make sure that you come to a base. If you come to a base that doesn't have enough resources, hit the next button. That is why it's there. There is always, always, always a better base. So if one is not a good fit for you, next on to the next one. Now I'll do this on for if there's not enough available loot in a base, but also if the base is just incredibly strong and you're not going to be able to make a dent into it, go on to the next one. That there is always a better fit. So as you can see here, I came to this base and it has an exposed town hall. Now this is kind of becoming more rare because people are starting to move their town halls to the center of their bases again, since the recent rules have changed to where if you lose a town hall, you do not automatically get a shield. So there are no cheap shields anymore in COC, which is kind of sad. I really, really enjoyed playing that way, but I get why they changed it. It does make sense to me. So if you do see an exposed town hall, that's usually a good sign that this base is probably abandoned. So the likelihood of being kind of getting a revenge attack is very, very low. So this is a great base for that. Now I noticed that this was a rushed, super maxed rushed Town Hall 10. And you can tell that basically, look at those pink walls in a Town Hall 10. That's just not a good combo. Red and pink never go together, people. But this is a rushed base. And I also noticed right away it's a very cluttered base. There are lots of things on the exterior which have not been cleaned in a while. So obviously the base probably has been abandoned. And if the base has been abandoned, that means the majority of the loot is going to be in the resource collectors on the exterior of the base. So I did look around at those resource collectors and I noticed they are most of them on the outside ring of the base. When you're designing a base, if you keep that in mind, that these are the things that looters look for, you might want to tuck in your resource collectors a little bit closer to your base and make sure that they're covered by plenty of your weapons, if your defenses, just for future reference. So if we zoom in on those resource collectors, you can see, especially the elixir pumps, there's pink going all the way to the top of that collector, which means that it hasn't been emptied in quite some time. So it is actually full of elixir, which means that it probably has more elixir inside of that pump than there is actually in the elixir storage, which is a little bit further tucked into the base. So knowing that there's more in the pumps than there is in the storage means that you don't need to work so hard at getting to the center of this base. Really, you're going to focus on the exterior pumps and mines. The next thing I looked at, and I do this very quickly in a glance, is I looked at the gold mine. So you can see the gold mine, the main box that brings the gold up from inside the mine to the surface, it always has gold inside of it. But right next to the mine, there is a teeny tiny little box that's right to the right of the main retriever bin. And this is an overflow bucket. Now, usually if this mine was just recently or had just recently been emptied, it would be empty. There would be nothing in that box. But you can see very clearly in this mine, it's actually overflowing a little bit. So that means this mine has not been cleared in quite some time, which is usually a good sign. It's going to have a lot of loot inside of it just kind of sitting there. So I'm going to target all of these as well as I can. I'm also going to kind of scan around and look and see if I can find the dark elixir pumps. Now, dark elixir pumps, if the other resource collectors haven't been emptied, chances are these dark elixir pumps have not been either. So there is a teeny tiny little storage, a collector indicator on top of the dark storage pump. There's a box right on the top towards the back on the left. If the pump had been emptied recently, it would be a clear white box. You would see nothing inside of it. This one has a black box sitting on the top of the pump, which means it's full. So now I will admit it is really, really impossible to look for that when you're first starting a loot. You only have 30 seconds to scout this base before you need to start dropping troops. So basically, I'm just going to assume I look first for the gold overflow bin because it's the easiest to spot. So if I see the gold overflow bin and I know that mine hasn't been emptied in a while, I also know the other resource collectors haven't been emptied in a while either. So this is a great base to hit. So as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and start it. I'm going to target my making sure I get to the town hall first. So I'm going to drop my, I dropped my Barb King. You do not, you definitely do, or my Archer Queen. I dropped her by the town hall first. If you don't have a hero, it's not important. You don't need it. So I'm going to just systematically start dropping my gobs all the way around it in front of all of those collectors, and I'm going to allow them to just kind of clear them out. If I see that I missed a collector, I'll go back and drop a few more. And I kind of just work in a counterclockwise fashion around the whole base until I've got most of the collectors destroyed. And as you can see, the loot that I'm racking up from just hitting the collectors is racking up like crazy. I'm already at 300k plus on everything. And then once I hit those dark collectors, I'm getting, over $1,000 on those things. That's amazing. So it definitely adds up. The resource collectors have a ton of loot in them. So by the time this is all over, I walked away with over 380k in gold, 330k in elixir, and close to 2,000 in dark elixir, which is a massive haul. So, and I didn't lose any trophies. I got actually 7 trophies out of this as well. So this is a really, really easy approach to looting. And all I needed to do after this is to grow or recook my entire gob army, and then do it all over again. So, and I did. I can actually show you one more. Now, I will say, if you're going to do a lazy loot strategy, on occasion you will lose trophies. So just kind of keep that in mind, that sometimes there will be a hit to your trophy count, and you have to kind of be okay with it. Remember what your main goal is. Your main goal is to find loot. Mostly, either you're trying to find it to collect for something specific, or you are trying to work towards a specific upgrade. If you have a need and you're trying to find it, this is the way to do it. So on this one, the town hall was in the center of the base. This is a little bit more common of an occurrence. You do not see the town hall on the outside as much as you used to, like I said. So for this one, I found this huge hole inside the base. And so I just started dropping my gobs there, and they just started going for loot because that's what they do. And I found two holes. They were right on each side. I don't know if they were, I thought they were going to be Tesla towers, and in that case I would lose a couple gobs in the process, but it didn't end up being it. So I don't know why they had these holes in their base design, but they did, so I took advantage of it. My gobs hit the interior, and if you have a square base design like this, all I have to do is get in the first one, and it can run that entire rung, that entire rung of their base. So you might want to consider that when you're designing your base. Making sure you have smaller compartments is a little harder. And as you can see from this loot, I actually walked away with 248k plus in elixir and 135k in gold. So a very successful run. I did lose trophies on this one, but I was okay with that because I'm happy with where I'm sitting in my trophy count currently. So I really just needed loot. So this is what I was going for. Lazy loot strategy is fabulous for getting you loot quickly and inexpensively, because gobs are cheap. But sometimes it will give you a hit to your trophy count. The goal would be not to drop too far down. You want to make sure you keep your trophy count in a league where you're happy. I am very content where I'm at with the gold 2. I'm kind of low right now on the gold 2 scale, so I definitely am going to need to do a few regular raids just to kind of get my trophies brought up a little bit so I can be, not be demoted. I don't really want to be demoted at this stage, but so it's something to consider. If your goal right now is to get your trophy count up to a certain point, maybe you're trying to work towards the gym boost, or because if you get 1,250 trophies, you get a massive gym reward, and that will allow you to buy another builder, which is huge in my opinion. So if you're really worried about trophies right now, lazy looting can definitely be done, but you need to make sure that you're looking for exposed bases, which can take a little bit longer scouting for bases. So that wraps me up for today. I absolutely want to hear back from anyone in my clan who has something specific, or not in my clan, who has something specific that you'd like me to discuss. I am happy to cover and research anything that you need, anything I can do to help kind of share some knowledge. And I'm going to be talking in the next video, we'll be talking about kind of the basics of war. We'll be seeing some of the war attacks will start coming in sometime today, so I'll be able to kind of go over some of just the basic strategies, especially in early lower level war. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. I'm happy to go over that with you. And in the meantime, happy clashing, everybody, and I'll talk to y'all later.